going?
Take two.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you all for coming. So we'll talk about suicide prevention, right? Preventing suicide, right? Yeah. Okay. So, some things I want to talk about. Mood disorders, right? A mood disorder is any serious and persistent mood problem, right? So how they define that is an intense or persistent mood that's maladaptive, meaning it's bad for you, it's harmful to you. So you can have an intense and persistent mood that's happy, and obviously that's fine. It's only if it's harmful to you, right? So this can be up or down, like depression, obviously, but some people get manic, which is, so severe mania is when people are like they're up, but that can be really bad for them. So they're like agitated, they're angry, they're hyper, they get like really intense about things. So prevalence, about 13% of all males experience depression at some point in their life, and about 21% of all females experience depression, severe depression at some point in their life. So that's quite a lot, right? 1 in 5 females experience depression almost twice as much as men, and females experience severe depression almost 4 times as much as men. So women have it worse in that respect. Bipolar disorder, which is the one where people get manic, the mania parts, that's much more rare. It's about 1%, and it peaks from 20 to 29. So, major depression. Okay, this is an intense, depressed mood. You can identify what depression actually is when people have reduced interest or pleasure in their activities. So they used to want to hang out all the time, and then they just don't want to do anything. They just want to stay home, and like they don't want to go out anymore. They don't want to see their friends, stuff like that. Loss of energy for a minimum of 2 weeks. Okay. Causes of depression. There's a genetic component. If your parents have depression, you're more likely to have depression, which really stinks for those of us with depression in our families, like mine. Like everyone in my family has depression. Your brain actually functions differently when you're depressed, so it's a real thing. Stressful life events can make you depressed. Disruptions of sleep or sunlight can make you depressed. Freud believed that depression was anger turned inward, especially for men. Guys who get angry about normal stuff, but they're not allowed to express it, right? They're not allowed to express their anger. They can tend to get depressed instead of like just able to express what's normal. I'm laughing with Nava because Nava keeps talking about that. So from a psychological explanation, people that are depressed, they may have had a real or imagined loss, like they may have lost someone might have died, or someone might have moved away, and they might have felt like a death to them. Right? People get learned helplessness, so they feel like nothing they do is going to matter anyway, so they start feeling like nothing they can do is going to fix it, so why does it matter? Why not just give up? Suicide is a risk for all types of depression, and it's one of the top 10 causes of death in Western countries, which is really scary. Thanks. So here's some statistics for you. The green is male, the blue is female. So, thought seriously about suicide. This is from 2013. So this is recent statistics, right? 22% of teenage girls think seriously about suicide. Right? 12% of teenage boys think seriously about suicide. 11% of teenage girls attempt suicide. 5% of males attempt suicide, and 4% of females complete suicide, right? Or require medical attention. And 2% of teenage boys attempt it where they require like hospitalization. And so this is not like a small number. You know people at Los who have attempted suicide, who've gone to hospitals because of it. You know people. This is not something that just is like it doesn't happen. This is something that happens, right? Women are more likely to attempt, but men are more likely to complete. So what that means is that women are more likely to just feel like they're out of options and feel like they just need help and they don't know how to get it, so they attempt suicide. Men, they don't want help, they don't want to deal with it, they want out in a lot of cases. By race, if you look at race, white, black, Hispanic. Which group thinks about, attempts, and completes suicide the most?
Hispanics.
Hispanic. Hispanic, 26% thinking about it seriously versus 21% white versus 19% black. Blacks think about it the least for whatever reason that is. Hispanics the most, right? So Los Amigos is predominantly what racial group?
Hispanics.
Right. So it's especially a concern for us, right? 16% of Hispanics attempt. That's nuts. And then 5% attempt where they have to be hospitalized as Hispanics, and 3% for whites, 3% for blacks. That's serious. And Asians are less, so they're not in the demographics here. Some myths. Okay, people who talk about suicide are unlikely to commit suicide. If they're talking about it, that's a cry for help, right? If they're talking about it, that's a serious thing that you need to be like, what's going on? What's happening? Like, sit down with me and let's talk about this. You know? People who threaten suicide are only seeking attention. They might be seeking attention, but if they don't get the attention they need, they're gonna attempt, right? They don't know how to deal with whatever they're going through, so they're talking about this, trying to get some kind of help to get through this, whatever it is, right? They need help. So if they're talking about it, they're probably serious. Talking about suicide with a depressed person may prompt the person to attempt it. It's a myth, right? People who are thinking about it, talk about it with them, right? If you talk about it with them, they can work through some of this stuff without getting crazy. Suicides usually do not warn others. Usually they do. They don't necessarily always leave notes or anything, but usually they leave hints that there's something not right. So, suicidal persons are fully committed to dying. Usually, like I said, it's just they have a problem they don't know how to deal with, and they don't know any other option. Like I said, men commit suicide more than women. Women attempt more than men. And people can attempt suicide when they're not depressed. Like, it can be some just event that happens, and they're like, F this, I'm out. Hey, thinking about suicide is actually remarkably common. I don't know if I should do like how many people have thought about suicide? Not like done it or gotten crazy, but how many people have thought about it? I thought about it. I'm honest, right? So that's half the people in here that are admitting it in high school, right? I don't know, I used to think about it a lot. It's kind of romantic. Oh, if I really get to the point where I can't handle this crap anymore, out, right? It's an easy solution with permanent consequences. Okay, so why do people try? Drug or alcohol abuse, right? If you're super high or super drunk, do you care what happens to you?
Nah.
No, right? So that's a warning. Prior suicide attempts, right? You've already tried it once, might as well go again. Depression, feelings of hopelessness, lack of coping skills, severe anxiety, panic attacks, family history of suicidal behavior, shame, failure, rejection. You ask that girl to prom, she snubs you, right? F this. Okay, can you humor me? Get your phones out and put this number in your phones. I know you're here doing me a favor, but can you actually do this? Because you might need this number at some point. Yeah. This is a 24-hour suicide hotline, 800-273-8255. 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's English and Spanish, right? You can call this if you have a friend that's doing something weird and you don't know what to think, right? You call it and you're like, hey, my friend's being weird. Should I be worried? They can help you talk your friend through this or give you advice. If you have a family member who's being weird, you can call this number and you can get advice. If it's 3 a.m. and your friend took a bad hit of acid or they're talking about jumping off a building, you can call this number. They can help you talk your friend down. Whatever. It's a 24-hour hotline.
Who are the people behind it?
So they're all volunteers. So usually the people that volunteer for these type of hotlines, who do you think volunteers for these type of hotlines?
Old people.
People that want to
People
help.
who've been through similar stuff, right? People who've had severe depression, people who've been hospitalized for suicide attempts, people who know what's up. So what?
What?
Yeah, so we'll see you tomorrow. That's kind of the motto for suicide prevention. So if you have somebody in your life who's talking about it, okay, you need to recognize it's serious. If they're talking about it, it's serious. You need to take it seriously. Express understanding. Don't make them feel like a freak. Like, why are you gonna kill yourself? What the? Like, talk to them. They're not weird. Lots of people think about it. Right? Focus on alternatives. Look, this is gonna pass. High school's temporary. Whatever stage is temporary. You only have, like a year more until you get to college. You get to do whatever you want. Right? Focus on alternatives. Right? Assess the immediate danger. If they're serious, if they're like, I'm gonna do it now, then this is not something you can handle. You need to call 911, right? If they've got like a freaking knife in their hand and they're like, we're gonna do it, you need to call 911, right? If it's more like they're just talking about it, just talk with them. One thing I have found that works really well for me is I make them promise me to contact me if they get serious. Right? I give them a phone number, whoever it is, if it's a student, if it's your friends, they should already have your phone number probably, but I say, I don't care what time it is. If you're serious, if you get to that point, I want you to promise me that you will contact me before you do anything. Right? And that almost always works. Because if they promised, they promised. Right? And try and get them to get help. Right? You shouldn't have to deal with it on your own. You're not qualified therapists. We have a great school psychologist, Dennis Derrick. Have any of you guys talked to him? Dennis Derrick?
Who's
You like
that?
him?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty legit. I feel like he's not an idiot. And then go with the person to get help if they're like, you think they're gonna dodge out. Okay. Every 40 seconds there's a suicide. Every 41 seconds somebody's left behind to make sense of it. Don't let this be you. Right? One of my best friends killed himself my junior year of high school, and that stays with you forever. Like I still think about him every week. We call him Poor Eddie, my friends. Poor Eddie went off himself. It messes you up, right? Don't do that to your friends. Like, emphasize to people there's other choices. Accept yourself, take control of your life, have a sense of independence, appreciate your life, don't take things too seriously, and take credit for your successes. These are my keys. Questions? It's a short presentation. Try to make it to the point. Yeah. That was 10, that was 15. That was too long. Sorry. Okay.